Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 527. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk about movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. James, Zach and I were
What?
talking earlier today. We were going down memory lane.
Okay.
And I think Zach and I had this epiphany about elementary school that neither of us can have memories of interacting with Zach's siblings while we were in elementary school. And Zach's got 3 siblings, all older, each a year older from each other. So like when we were in 3rd grade, he had 2 siblings at our school. And I can't tell
one
you...
in 4th, one in 5th.
One in
type of
4th,
thing?
one in 5th. I can't tell you a single time in my memory that I interacted with either of those siblings in elementary school.
Just to make sure we're clear, I have tons of memories of interacting with them at home.
Of course, yes.
I don't remember seeing them in the hallways.
Like, we're talking literally at elementary school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. You have literally 0 memories, or you just, it didn't happen often type of thing.
I can't think of a single time that I remember seeing one of my siblings at school.
Like you didn't get on the same bus to school.
I lived a block from school.
Yeah, exactly.
So you
corner.
walked to school.
Yeah.
Did you
With
walk
them?
with them or separately?
No. Separately.
Why?
I mean, because I don't remember walking to school with them.
Interesting.
No, it's just no memory of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a sister who was a year and a half ahead of me. She was typically 2 years ahead of me in school. And elementary school, I don't remember seeing her either, but definitely high school, I did. I think in elementary school, you're kind of on different schedules, and I don't remember them like mixing grades and recess and stuff like that. Even lunchtime, at least in my elementary schools, were segregated by grade. So I don't know if that's the case with you guys, but
I don't
that's
remember
how
if
it
our
was.
recesses were broken down by grade level or not.
Mhm. I don't know.
Zach's got no memory of this whatsoever. He's checked out already.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I'm just soaking in how ridiculous this conversation.
this conversation is.
I'm just
Wait,
soaking it in.
Would you prefer if I just say, hey, how's it going? Let's rank some movies. What do you want, Zach?
Wow, I'm asking so much. Guys, it's just good to see you. I'm on very little sleep, so if I seem tired during the show, you are noticing something that is actually happening.
It's because you are.
Exactly. Yeah. If you think that I'm not tired, you have low emotional intelligence.
What if I just lack compassion?
I didn't understand the what if part of that sentence.
All right.
But I'm listening.
Hypothetically, let's say I don't care about your feelings.
But I'm excited to be on the show with you guys because you guys are awesome. And I want to talk about forgotten films of a year that feels kind of recent. At some point, we're going to have to stop the Forgotten Films series because it's going to be like, 2 years ago. What'd you forget about?
What's the
I don't think
cutoff?
we're doing them that fast. It'll take us 10 years to get to the point where it was only 2 years ago at this rate.
Did we start in 1990?
Yes.
We could always go backwards from there too.
We could.
For a bit, yeah. At some point, when you get to like Forgotten Films in 1980, I don't
That'd be
know.
fun.
I don't know about that one.
That'd be fun.
Wait,
I don't think I've seen enough films going far enough back for any of them to be forgotten.
would you guys cut off at 2010 or 2012, the year before the podcast started, or 13? I guess. What's the how recent can we go for Forgotten before we say, okay, this doesn't count anymore? You can't forget these movies.
I mean, at 2 or 3 of these a year, in order to get to 2020, let's say, how long would it take us?
Well,
5 more years? 4 or 5 more years? By then, it'll be 2027.
Or
That's
2026.
7 years ago. People might have forgotten some movies by then.
So we can just, as long as he spaced these out, we can just go indefinitely.
For
Yeah.
sure.
All right.
Yep, that's
In
the plan.
perpetuity.
Perfect.
That's the plan. Mm-hmm. definitely.
Kyle, do you want to know a fun fact I just learned? This is going to be my brief check-in.
Okay, let's hear it.
My father-in-law went to the university where HAL 9000 was said to be created at.
Oh, I should know
What does that mean?
this. Is it University of Arizona?
No,
Okay.
no. University of Illinois.
Oh. How
In
9000 is a
Normal,
Midwestern
Illinois.
Apparently.
boy?
In Normal,
just told me
Illinois,
this
where I
today.
was
He'd
born.
be talking more like, "Oops, sorry, Dave. I can't do that." Yeah, no.
Wait, University of Illinois or Illinois State?
I believe he said University of Illinois.
I don't know where that is. I think Illinois State's in Normal, Illinois.
Well, obviously they're
born.
terrible at designing AI. Do not go
Or
there
good.
for their computers.
Or good at it, depending on your perspective.
Which one's in Urbana?
Not Illinois State.
Must be University of
Okay,
Illinois.
Urbana, Champlain.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, that's my check.
That is a fun fact.
Super fun. You know what else is fun? Housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
Don't forget, there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Search Cinereelists. Find us there. Listen to watch us while you listen to us. You could also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Support the podcast, get extra after show audio, as well as other Cinerealist swag. You could leave us an Apple podcast review, 5 stars only, or you could send us an email to heyguys@cinereelists.com, REEL with an S on the end. Send a comment, a question, a list suggestion, pretty much anything you want. You can send it to us via email, heyguys@cinereelists.com. Today, we're going to talk the top 10 forgotten films of 2006. This is an ongoing series in which we list our top 10 forgotten films of said year. We've worked our way up from 1990 all the way to 2006. Before we jump into our lists for this week, we're going to set the stage a little bit. All right. We're going to try to get into the 2006 mindset. In fact, to celebrate the 2006 mindset, I've got my special 2006 hat on. That's right. It's a
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water hat. Yep. Absolutely.
Brilliant.
I forgot that came out in
Yes.
2006.
The most wanted hat of 2006. It's a Lady in the Water hat. A promotional hat that I got at a screening. I think I won it with some M. Night Shyamalan trivia.
I think it's time for that hat to move on.
No, absolutely not. This is a collector's item. I wonder how much I could get for it on eBay.
Well, let someone else collect it.
$20.
No. I wear this hat with pride.
Oh, well, you wear it then? $15.
Okay, so in 2006, just to set the stage, what was going on in 2006, right? Lots of things were going on in 2006. In 2006, the microblogging and social network service Twitter launched.
Fun fact, Twitter has a new owner now.
I know. It's so crazy that Elon Musk bought Twitter.
I mean, how is this different than, like, someone buying a newspaper 100 years ago?
Well, that was a big deal back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like this is not unprecedented. This may be a
how
big
is it
deal.
different? Because there were like a billion newspapers and there's not a billion major social media networks. There's like 4 or 5. And so he bought one of them, and like even what's his name? The Facebook guy. Like Facebook is a public business and he's beholden to board members. Elon Musk is taking Twitter private.
Mm-hmm.
And so he will not, he can do whatever he wants with it at that point.
He's not taking it private.
I believe he is.
Is he? Really?
Yeah, he's buying out all the shares.
Oh, okay.
Why, you got Twitter shares?
Yeah, I got Twitter
Not
shares.
anymore, you don't.
I got you.
Well,
I thought
you
he was
do.
just
You're
buying
about to get bought out.
I
What?
thought he was just buying majority stake. He's buying
No, he's buying
every
the
share.
whole thing.
He's
like,
buying
okay.
it outright.
46
Yep.
billion or something like that.
Yeah. Which means he can make any rule he wants, and he can make Twitter better or ruin it, one way or the other. And unfortunately, like, Twitter's my social media network of choice. Like, it's the only one I've really used consistently since social media networks became a thing. And so I'll be sad if he ruins it. But that's a distinct possibility. I also really don't want Trump to come back. I feel like that's something he would do just to do it.
Devin Nunes says he's not as of right now.
Right.
Okay.
But knowing Elon, he'll say he's not going to do it, and then he'll say he's going to do it, and then he'll say he was kidding, and then he'll actually do it. That's the pattern with him.
Nailed it.
Also in 2006, Google purchased YouTube.
Nice.
So if Elon Musk just paid 44 or 46 billion for Twitter, how much do you think Google purchased YouTube for?
Well, probably
in
like
2006.
300 million.
No,
300
no.
million. Closest to the pin,
No.
Zach. Kyle says
No, it's-
300 million.
It's definitely higher than that.
Okay.
I'm guessing 2
I'm
billion.
gonna say 1.2 billion. I didn't realize we were like
Wait. You changed your answer?
I changed my answer. I wasn't locked in. I was pontificating. Like 300 million? No, that's too low. It's 1.2 billion.
So Kyle says 1.2. Zach says 2.
2.
It was 1.65 Bs. So Zach wins by 0.5 B.
I mean, it could
Not
be
bad.
1.3.
Also in 2006, the International Astronomical Union defined the word planet, removing Pluto's status as a planet.
That happened that long ago?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That was 18 years ago?
How many years was Pluto a planet? How many years from when it was deemed a planet until it was no longer a planet?
Okay, Zach's
closest to the pin.
Zach's going first this time.
All right, Zach.
And then Kyle will answer, and then I will change my answer.
That's totally fine.
I do know that Pluto, from the time it became a planet to lost its status, had not gone around the sun once. It was less than one Pluto year.
Interesting.
That took place. I'm gonna guess 68 years.
Zach says 68.
I'm gonna go 85 years. I believe a Pluto year is like 92 Earth years.
All right, I'm not good at math, but the answer was 76. I don't know who won.
Okay, I said 68, so I was 8 away. What did you say, Kyle?
I said
think Kyle was 8
85, so
away.
I was 9 away.
95?
9
9
away.
away.
Okay.
You beat
Oh,
Jai
I got it again.
1 year.
Man,
Ouch. Another website, well, not another, but a website was launched called WikiLeaks in the year 2006. That's a site
Is
of
that
note.
still a thing?
That's still a thing.
It is?
I mean, not as much as it was like in 2016 or so, but it's definitely still a thing.
anything
Also
good happened in
2006
2006?
Well, it depends on your definition of good. In 2006, the Nintendo Wii and the PlayStation 3 was released in North America.
Nice.
Wii was a game changer.
It really was. Everybody got those motion control systems going, like the Xbox and the PlayStation, and then they abandoned them. They never really became a thing anywhere else but the Wii, I would
'Cause-
say.
I didn't want to play Xbox Connect and move around for video games.
Right.
I play video games so I can
Xbox
sit on the
is-
couch.
Xbox is for sitting on the couch, not
Yeah.
moving around. I
Yeah.
agree. Also in 2006, more good news. North Korea declared it had carried out its first test of a nuclear weapon. Yay! Making it the world's 9th nuclear power.
I forgot that you were pro North Korea.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting that.
I know.
Yeah. You love
It's
North
an
Korea.
odd stance, for sure.
It is. Yeah.
Considering
It's
all my other
principled, though.
stances, why, North Korea? I don't know.
Yeah, James is more
She's a fan
pro
of-
nuclear weapon. He just thinks the more the better in the world. Diversify. He
Absolutely.
wants to see double digits of nuclear nations.
Absolutely. Also going nuclear, Jon Stewart hosted the 78th Academy Awards that year.
Okay.
Who won Best Picture in 2006?
But is this the
Car-
movie from
Cars.
2006 or the movie from 2005 that won in the year 2006?
The movie from 2005 that won in 2006.
Is that Crash?
That was Crash.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Crash won Best Picture, upsetting the odds favorite. What movie?
No, not Return of the King. That was
3 years earlier.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't
Plus, Return of the King won.
know. Yeah, that's why I said not Return of the King.
Brokeback Mountain.
Oh.
Brokeback Mountain had won like everything up until the Oscars, and then Crash won. But Ang Lee won director, so it wasn't all negative. In 2006, Disney announced plans to acquire what company?
Pixar.
Pixar. Yes. Also in 2006, Tom Cruise and his fiancee Katie Holmes welcomed their newborn baby, Siri. And Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie gave birth to their daughter, Shiloh. Both couples still going strong today.
Yeah.
In 2006, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest opened in the summer, grossing how much million on its opening day? This set a record for largest opening day, largest single day, and the largest Friday gross of all time.
At the time.
Set in 2006. At the time.
Uh,
What was, at the time, the largest Friday, single day, and opening day gross
I'll go first.
for a movie? Go
Okay.
ahead.
For a day. Let's go 200 million.
Kyle
Less.
says 200 million.
Less. So I'll say 120.
Zach says 120. The answer? 55.8 million.
Wow.
55.8 million.
Well, you're talking 2006 dollars, not.
I'm just
I
talking what
adjusted
their
for
box office
inflation. I'm
total was.
sorry. It's,
You
Yeah.
de-adjusted for.
yeah. I only think in current.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective, the current record holder, which is of course Avengers Endgame, which owns pretty much all the box office records at this point, in 2019 opened to $157 million. So Kyle, his guess was like way over even the current record holder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking weekend, not day.
Sure. Okay. Out of all the movies that have ever come out, Dead Man's Chest used to hold that record. Where does it sit in the record books today? At what number? Closest to the pin.
Zach.
It currently sits at 36.
Zach says 36.
Yeah, I was thinking like 28.
Kyle says 28. The answer was 47. They are almost completely dropped out of the top 50 as far as
Yeah,
biggest
that's
box
funny.
office day ever. In 2006, Mel Gibson is arrested after a DUI.
Oh, that was that
arrest.
long ago.
Yep. With police reports later revealing anti-Semitic comments the director made to the arresting officer.
All right, name the comments closest to the pin wins.
No.
Well, you're going to win that. Kyle.
These are not things I'm going to repeat. 3 more. Jacob Tremblay, Canadian actor and Zach's favorite Twitter follower, was born in 2006.
Yeah.
Robert
Wow,
Altman.
he's old now.
He's very old. Yes.
Wow.
He's
okay.
how old? 18?
16?
16? Told you I'm bad at math.
That's okay.
Robert Altman, Chris Penn, Don Knotts, Steve Irwin, James Brown, and Saddam Hussein all passed away in 2006.
Okay.
Very tragic. And finally, the highest rated TV show was what in 2006? This is gettable.
Two Men and a Baby.
No.
No, I mean, what is that show? It's like
I know what you're talking about. It's
2.5
not
men is what you're saying.
2.5. Yeah. 2.5 Men.
The
2.5
Wire.
babies. The Wire is the most watched TV
Big-
show
No,
on
no,
television.
Big Bang Theory.
When he
The
said,
Office.
when he said highest rate, I thought he meant
No.
like best IMDb rating.
No.
Yeah.
Highest rated by
it's
Nielsen.
got to be CSI or something like one of those CSIs.
No, American Idol.
Oh.
American Idol.
Okay.
I'm not going to turn this into a trivia because you'll never get it. But the number one song of 2006 was Bad Day by Daniel Powter.
Oh yeah.
Right. I had to look this up.
You know that song?
Do you know this song, Kyle?
Yeah, because you had
Can
a
you-
bad day. Your mother won't something. I don't know how the rest of it goes. I can't
Your
sing,
mother
but I know
wants
the song.
something. I don't remember that lyric.
No, it's not your mother won't. That's the melody poorly.
Okay. Do you remember it now, Zach? After that stellar
Oh,
rendition?
I definitely know that
Yeah.
song.
I heard myself
You
singing
had
that.
a bad day.
I cringe at hearing myself singing that right now, so I apologize to everyone listening right now.
No, it was good. It was
Amazing.
strong.
Pretty sure we're gonna get claimed off that.
Yeah, this is already pulled from YouTube.
All right. Does everybody feel like they're now in 2006?
Oh, I've never left.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good to hear it. Just a reminder, these lists have very little guardrails, I would say. The movie has to have come out in 2006, and it has to have not been in the top 10 highest grossing films of 2006, which means any film is fair game except for Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, The Da Vinci Code, Ice Age The Meltdown, Casino Royale, Night at the Museum, Cars, X-Men The Last Stand, Mission Impossible 3, Superman Returns, or Happy Feet. None of those will be on our Forgotten Films of 2006 list. And the other guardrail we've given is that it generally has to be a movie people don't talk about. But
Yeah.
that's kind of subjective compared to the other
Yeah.
rule, for sure. So
Hopefully it's forgotten.
hopefully it's forgotten. Yep. The goal is to find movies that we think are forgotten. I also pulled up an additional stat. I watched 142 films that were released in 2006.
Oh, nice.
That's how many I've seen from the year 2006. I didn't watch all of them in 2006.
How many was it?
142.
I'm going to look up what my number is.
I have watched 58 from 2006.
Nice.
Wow. So James, almost 3 times as many as him.
I know, it's ridiculous. This was when I was running the movie website, and so I was watching everything. For sure. I mean, I still watch 100 plus every year, so it's not like crazy, but
Yeah, it's not unheard of. Okay, I'm going to show watched. Hold on. I've seen a number to be determined from
Do you want me-
2006. 80 films.
80 films.
Okay, so
Perfect. Well, let's get into it. Let's
rank some movies.
thank you, Kyle. Let's rank some
You're
movies.
welcome.
This is you guys can't hear that, can you?
No.
What did we do? You can't hear any of my sound effects. You can't even hear me playing this.
I don't think that's an answer to my
Yeah,
question.
No.
Nope.
What? Didn't we go through this once, Kyle? And can you hear this now?
Let's rank some movies. Oh God,
Yeah.
is that me?
Well, it ain't me.
Why? Why do I do to deserve this?
That sounds good.
It's
All right. We got the sounds working again.
All right, I'm no longer having any more affectations on. I'm just gonna be monotone. Number 10. Let's rank
Yeah.
some movies.
You're so demanding. I love it.
Ugh.
Let's get into our top 10 forgotten films of 2006. If you guys don't mind, I will go first. That way somebody else can go last.
Thanks for asking.
Well, I always
I
ask you guys who
don't
wants
mind.
to go first, and then it's all awkward. So I figured I'll just go first.
James
Love
is
it.
planting his flag. Go ahead for it, James.
All right. My number 10 is The Foot Fist Way, which is why what's up with the sounds?
I was pretending like you took mine.
That was
Oh,
my
okay.
number 10.
This is a low budget martial arts comedy film, I would say, directed by Jody Hill and starring Danny McBride. It's kind of Danny McBride's first movie. Like, I think he had been in movies before this, but he made this one first and then got distribution later or something like that. Or maybe this was just a script he was shopping around. It wasn't until he got to be in other movies that they allowed him to make this. I don't know exactly the story, but
I remember he made this, and before it got distributed, it got passed around in Hollywood, and like they would just show it at parties, and like Hollywood celebrities just loved this movie secretly before it got distributed.
But for some reason, it took forever to get distributed, type of thing.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
was already getting like cameo roles in movies because people loved this film so much.
Yeah. I remember you're probably right. There was some kind of story around that, some kind of legend of this movie. And it's a movie I enjoy. And I think it's funny. It's like pretty awkward. But if you liked Danny McBride and you liked Eastbound and Down and stuff like that, and what was the other one? The Principal or something like that?
Oh,
Was his other
Vice.
HBO show? The Vice Principal.
Yeah.
Vice Principal. Vice Principals or something.
That's it. Yep.
If you like the awkwardness of those TV shows, then Foot Fist Way is right in that alley for sure. It's been quite a while since I've seen it. I'm not sure it would hold up, but as a first time watch, I enjoyed it. My number 10.
Nice. Okay, my number 10 is called A Good Year. And I think this qualifies as a forgotten film because no one has talked about this film since 2006. It is directed by Ridley Scott, though, and it stars Russell Crowe. And it's kind of a romantic comedy where Russell Crowe owns a vineyard. And Marion Cotillard comes and she says that she's his daughter. And I guess the law says that if you have a daughter, she inherits your vineyard. Anyway, I found it to be a charming film at the time. I've not seen it since, so there's some details that have fallen away. But I think Ridley Scott knows how to make a movie. I think it's fun that he had this romantic comedy from 2006. And yeah, that's my movie. A Good Year.
Nice. So I order my movies based on number of IMDb votes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not necessarily in my preferred order. They're all movies that I like, but they're in the order of most or
How
sorry, least obscure forgotten of the forgotten to most obscure of the forgotten. So
Gotcha.
we'll see if you guys have heard of some of these as we get lower down the list. So my number 10 is A Scanner Darkly, directed by Richard Linklater. This is starring Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Woody Harrelson, and Robert Downey Jr. Keanu Reeves plays a cop in the near future who's investigating this new drug that's a psychedelic drug. And what's interesting about this movie is the whole thing is rotoscoped. So that's the style of animation where you film actors and then basically animate over them. And Linklater uses that technique to really enhance the psychedelic effects of the movie. So you can have a character, reacting like there's bugs crawling over them or morphing into different shapes. And it's a great way to kind of get that trippiness of it and still have some great actors in it and some great performances. This is probably my favorite era of Robert Downey Jr. This is post rehab, pre Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. I think he's doing a lot of interesting things and was kind of really showing off his acting chops. I do like Tony Stark or his take on Tony Stark, but that's pretty much all we've seen from him for the last 15 years. And I do miss kind of what he was doing pre-Marvel. I think he's doing some pretty interesting stuff, especially in this movie.
You haven't seen The Judge?
Yeah, I miss The Judge. I miss Doolittle.
The Doolittle's awful, but The Judge is actually pretty good. It's a brutal watch,
Okay.
but it's really well acted.
And you're getting some good Robert Downey Jr., some non-Tony Stark?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's about a guy who's dealing with his elderly dad who needs help living, day to day type of thing. And so he's, I think, like a big shot lawyer, and he kind of has to humble himself to take care of his aging dad. It's a straight drama. Like I said, you're going to have to be in a very specific mood to watch it. But it's Robert Downey Jr. not being Iron Man, which is nice.
Yeah.
Every now and then. For sure. My number 9 is Tell No One, which is a French language movie. It's a thriller. It's kind of similar to Unknown, the Liam Neeson movie, but not exactly. I mean, it's not, Unknown is not like a English language remake of this, but it has similar thriller elements where this guy, his wife dies, and years later he gets a feeling that and like how she died was never fully resolved. And so years later he gets a feeling that she's still alive. And so he kind of goes down a rabbit trail, even though everybody tells him like that's crazy. She's not, type of thing. We literally buried her. So he goes down the rabbit trail and you know, thriller stuff happens. And it's pretty fun because it's an older guy who is set on kind of this action thriller path, and he has no skills to be doing the things that he's doing, and yet he's doing them, and he's solving the puzzle. And it's produced by Luc Besson, so it has action in it, even though it's not like hand-to-hand combat. It's lots of like foot chases and like kind of Mission Impossible-esque espionage, tailing people, that type of stuff. And it's a fun thriller. Check it out. Tell No One.
Cool.
Sweet. My number 9 is a documentary called "Who Killed the Electric Car?" And at the time, this was kind of a shocking documentary because it was saying like, oh, we used to in the 90s have electric cars that worked great, and people in California used to drive them everywhere. And it tried to figure out why we don't have them anymore in 2006. I think no one talks about this documentary anymore because we again have electric cars.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of a moot point. But I remember the documentary kind of went through and blamed everybody in turn. It said like, oh, it's the oil company's fault. It's the government's fault. It's the car industry's fault. But it does seem like the technology was there and then we weren't allowed to have it for a while. And now it's back.
Mhm.
Nice. My number 9 is Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. This is the fictional story about the forming of Tenacious D, which is the band formed by Jack Black and Kyle Gass. And I wouldn't say this movie is a great movie. I think it's a bit of a cult classic. I remember being very excited to see it when it came out because I was a big, or I guess I am a Tenacious D fan, especially in college. Listened to whatever that one album is, like the one album they have,
The one, they have multiple albums. What are you
but
talking
like the
about?
one they had in 2006, like in the 2000s.
The one that charted.
The one
you
that,
mean.
yeah, I wish I should. Maybe it's just called Tenacious D. It might just be self-titled.
I think it is.
Yeah. So anyway, I listened to that a ton, and was a fan of them. They had like an HBO show for short-lived for a while. So like, excited for this movie, and I would say that the movie, as a comedy, is a bit disappointing. There are some jokes that hit, some that miss. The plot's kind of odd, but it has some incredible music sequences, and this is a soundtrack I should listen to these days. And I think if you're a fan of this kind of music and like sort of rock in the 2000s, you don't want to watch a whole movie of this. You can probably just watch some clips. The first song, called Kickapoo, is amazing. It's with a young Jack Black impersonator, and you've got Meatloaf playing his dad, and then Ronnie James Dio comes out of a poster and sings a little part of the song too, and that's pretty killer. And then the final song, Beelzebub, with Dave Grohl playing the devil, is a pretty great song too, and a cool scene. So at least check those two out, and maybe see the whole movie if you really want. But it's definitely worth listening to.
I rewatched it in the last year or two, and I liked it better the second time.
Really?
I think it's one of those movies that if you came at it as like a big fan,
Yeah.
then it was a little disappointing. But if you remember the old show, I would say like the joke to laugh ratio is on par with those TV shows. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know what I was expecting from it on first watch, but I didn't get that. And then on second watch, I just watched it with no expectation of it being good, and it was great.
It-
Or at least fun.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was more fun than disappointing type of thing.
I definitely could have gone with maybe high expectations.
Mhm.
I remember that Jack Black was on the Daily Show after the second week that Tenacious D movie was out, and he was there to promote the movie, and like it was bombing. And Jack Black was like, "Yeah, I'm here to promote Tenacious D. No one saw it last weekend, so please buy a ticket this weekend." Like you could just tell he did not want to be there to promote this movie because it was just not doing well.
Sure. Yeah. My number 8 is Starter 410, which is a British dramedy that I actually talked about not too long ago on a top 10 last 10. It's about like a university quiz team, like a college quiz team. And the only reason you'd want to watch this is because it stars a bunch of famous people in very early roles, including James McAvoy, Alice Eve, Rebecca Hall, and I think Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. And Benedict Cumberbatch looks like he's 17 years old in this movie. It's pretty crazy. Because I think by the time Benedict Cumberbatch got famous enough for me to know his name and to be able to pronounce it, he was like well into his 30s. And so to see a really young Benedict Cumberbatch on screen is weird for sure. But I do remember it kind of being like a fun period piece with all these fresh faced actors. And it was fun to watch that later on after I know where all of these people have been. Like, how many X-Men movies have I seen with James McAvoy in it now? And now I'm getting to see like one of his early things. Completely watchable, fun movie. My number 8.
Cool.
Nice.
My number 8 is The Science of Sleep by Michael Gondry. And this is a weird little movie starring Gail Garcia Bernal, where basically a guy has like vivid dreams, and then the movie like shows his dreams in really kind of lo-fi artistic ways and like stop animation type of stuff. And then he falls in love with a woman, and I guess tries to share that part of his world with her. And this movie is one of the stranger, I would say, Gondry films. And I think probably for that reason, it's not really talked about very much anymore. But it certainly is going for things that a lot of movies don't go for. You know, it's original, and I appreciate it from that aspect of it. So, The Science of Sleep.
Yeah, I loved Gondry, and that was the first one that I was like, I don't know. Too weird for me.
Yeah.
James, glad to hear you say that because I turned that movie off. I never finished it.
Oh, I finished it,
Okay.
but I should probably give it another shot. But
You may have some distance from it now.
right. Yeah. It was a real Tenacious D situation where I was expecting a lot and then didn't exactly get what I wanted the first time.
Yeah. I mean, because this was the movie that he made after Eternal Sunshine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I preferred the rendition of Kickapoo in Tenacious D over
yeah,
this movie.
Meatloaf's cameo in Sound Asleep didn't work for
It
me.
just didn't do it for me.
Didn't really
I preferred
impress,
the
no.
Tenacious D version.
No. All right, my number 8 is a movie from 2006 called Rescue Dawn, starring Christian Bale and Steve Zahn. This is directed by Werner Herzog. It's the mostly true story about a Vietnam War era pilot played by Christian Bale who crashes in Laos during a secret mission, and then chronicles his kind of being tortured and led around, and eventually imprisonment by the Viet Cong army, and his eventual attempts to escape. And this was a movie where I had checked on Letterboxd and I was reading the description, reading Wikipedia, and I'm like, I don't remember anything about this movie. So I rewatched it, and turned out it was actually my first time watching this movie. I had never seen this movie until this weekend.
It's called Red Dawn.
Rescue Dawn.
Okay. This makes sense.
Yeah, no, not Red Dawn, Rescue Dawn. So yeah,
I was
a
gonna
movie
say
I thought I had seen, but had not seen until a couple nights ago. It's directed by Werner Herzog, and you can definitely see his touches in it. Like there's a bit of a Hollywood sheen to it, but it also has some great like kind of like steady shots and handheld shots of the jungle. It also sticks with his themes of seeing people kind of at their most extreme circumstances, especially up against nature. There's a lot of them just dealing with being in the jungle. So, maybe not quite as, I won't say bleak necessarily, maybe not quite the same tone you expect from other Werner Herzog movies, but very similar in what you see from him.
For some reason, I just can't imagine Christian Bale and Steve Zahn in the same movie.
Oh yeah.
But my biggest issue with this movie was Christian Bale went kind of big at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he was just kind of early to acting or if that was the direction from Herzog to like go bigger. But there was some moments where his reactions to characters were just like, that doesn't seem like how this character would react. But I couldn't really pin down the character anyway. So I wouldn't call it Bale's best movie. I mean, he was doing.
I think this was a standout for Steve Zahn though.
Yeah, I mean,
No, really. I remember really liking Steve Zahn from this film.
Yeah, he's kind of like he's playing a prisoner who's been there for a year and a half, so he's full like emaciated, grizzled in this movie. It's
Yeah.
he's not the funny guy.
Steve Zahn as you've never seen him before.
You don't realize how blue his eyes are until you see him covered in just dirt, and then like Steve Zahn's got some strikingly blue eyes. I just was shocked by that.
Can't fake those.
I have this marked in Letterboxd. Don't remember a single thing about it.
Maybe you did the same thing as me, and you confused this with Tears of the Sun, and you're like, "That's the same movie." You just checked it.
I've seen that one too.
Oh,
very different.
I've definitely seen Tears of the Sun, and I must have assumed this was the same movie or something. But
sure,
that's funny.
Yeah.
What'd you rate it, Kyle?
Well, it was a 3-star, and now it's a 3.5. So that's my official rating.
All right. My number 7 will come after James's.
My number 7 is Right at Your Door, which is great. It's like this little thriller set in LA. It's definitely low budget. Set like the vast majority of it is set in one house, and it's this couple, and it's the morning, and the wife goes to work, and the husband, I guess, works at home. I don't remember. And just like 15 minutes after she leaves, he hears on the radio that there's been a terrorist attack in LA. Like a sequence of dirty bombs have exploded all over different locations in LA. And then he's like trying to get his wife on the phone because one of the locations was on the freeway. It's like the freeway she was on, and she won't answer the phone. You're like constantly staying with him, trying to figure out what's going on. Then he hears over the radio that like toxic gas is being let into the environment, and because of the Santa Ana winds or something like that, it's like blowing it around, and so you need to stay in your house. And then they announce on the radio that if that they're quarantining everybody in these certain blast zones. He still can't get a hold of his wife. Like during this whole time, they're quarantining people, and if anybody you know from those blast zones comes to your house, you are not to let them in. And you're supposed to like seal your doors and everything like that. That way, like no toxins will be let in. And of course, spoiler alert, the guy's wife shows up and he won't let her in the house because she's probably going to die. And it's just like this really tight indie drama around this couple and like how they're going to deal with the situation, because she thinks it's ridiculous that he won't let her in. And he's like, I'm going to die with you if I let you in. It's like a impossible situation, basically. But it's great. And it's fairly short, if I remember. 90 minutes from beginning to end, including credits. And I really enjoyed the movie. And I really enjoyed the ending. And that's all I'll say. My number 7.
Little tease there. Okay, my number 7 is Accepted from 2006, directed by Steve Pink and starring Justin Long, Jonah Hill, and Blake Lively. And the premise of this comedy is that a bunch of students that couldn't get into a college decided to just start a college of their own. And this is, a forgettable comedy, I would say, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And that is the purpose of a comedy. And so, yeah, I liked it. This was like Justin Long era, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was popular in the 2000s.
Yeah. Perhaps the best actor of that decade. I don't know.
When we break down the decades, he's got a strong contender for 2006 for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's my number 7.
I don't have this marked, but I feel like I've seen this movie.
Time for a rewatch.
Yeah, I'm going to rush right out.
How many laughs do you have to laugh in a comedy for it to be successful for you?
I don't even have to laugh. I just have to be amused.
Yeah, if I'm letting some chuckles out, if I can
If you can get me to laugh, that's awesome. But if I just after the movie ends, I'm like, okay, I felt lighthearted. That was fun. Then you've gotten pretty close for me.
Okay. I think Accepted will do that.
Well, my number 7's another pretty lighthearted movie. It's a laugh a minute, and this is The Good Shepherd, directed by Robert De Niro. One of 2 movies he's ever directed. This movie is telling the story of the formation of the CIA in the early 50s. It is I guess you can call it a political thriller. It's a movie I don't remember a ton about. I even owned it on DVD at one point. I think I bought it from like a rental store, used for $1 or 2, and watched it a couple times, but haven't really thought about this movie since. Um, if this movie is worth seeing, though, it's because of the cast, and this movie has a stacked cast. You've got Matt Damon playing the lead role. Then Angelina Jolie plays his wife, and then Alec Baldwin, Billy Crudup, Robert De Niro, Cara Delevingne, right, of 2001: A Space Odyssey. What else has he been in besides these 2 movies? Michael
Sure, other
Gambon,
things.
huh?
I'm sure other things.
Yeah, probably, but William Hurt, who's a favorite actor of mine. Lee Pace. It's Joe Pesci's in this movie. Eddie Redmayne's in this movie. John Turturro.
I think it's his first movie, Eddie Redmayne.
It very well could be. Yeah. It's got a pretty deep cast. So I think it's worth seeing it just for that.
Nice.
Love it. My number 6 is All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, which is a horror movie, horror thriller, slasher is what Wikipedia is deeming it. Stars Amber Heard. I don't know if it's her debut, but it's like one of her early movies, I would say. And she plays the titular character, and it's about a bunch of guys who are like in love with Mandy Lane. They're like teenagers or maybe right out of high school. I don't remember, but they all have a crush on this girl. And they decide to go out to like an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere, and they invite her as along with some other girls out to this house, but they're all just kind of crushing on her. And then when they get out there, they realize the house isn't so abandoned, and it kind of dips into cliched thriller type stuff. But yeah, I enjoy this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I do remember enjoying it. I gave it like 4 stars on Letterboxd, so evidently I enjoyed it a lot at the time, and I need to rewatch it because I've only seen it that once. My number 6, All the Boys Love Mandy Lane.
I confused that movie with it's like John Tucker Must Die or something.
It's a very similar title.
What about like
in a weird way?
like Everyone Wants to Date Tad Hamilton or something?
Yeah. That's another one.
Yeah.
I think I've seen all 3 of those movies.
What's with the wordy titles in 2006?
I don't know.
Okay, my number 6 is Babel from Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, starring a lot of people like Brad Pitt, Kate Blanchett, and Gail Garcia Bernal. Second time he's been on my list today. This movie follows a few different stories kind of in parallel. You know, this was popular at the time, I guess, you know, with Crash and everything. But it's super dramatic. There's a couple, I think, you know, in the desert in somewhere in Africa, and they have a tragedy, and then there's all these kind of interlocking stories about the human condition, and I remember at the time thinking it was very artsy and deep,
Mhm.
and I haven't seen it since, and I wonder what it would be like to watch now. But no one talks about Babel anymore.
I, I remember language was the thread between all the stories. Is either
Like the difficulty
like yeah,
in
is either
language.
miscommunication or yeah,
Yeah.
all that. Hence Babel being the title.
I
Right.
remember it being good, and also I have no motivation to watch it again. I don't know why.
Because there wasn't any mirth at all.
I don't know. I don't remember enough of it to be motivated to watch it again.
Sure.
But I do like hold a high respect in the back of my brain for it for one reason or
Mhm.
another.
Yeah.
Probably because of the Inaratu connection.
Yeah. I think Babel came at the tail end of these interwoven stories movies, and like we just
Mhm.
had Crash the year before, which seemed a little derivative. So then
Mhm.
you get Babel, and you're like, well, we've seen this. Like, is this that unique? And it's probably better than Crash, but less talked about.
Mhm.
My number 6 is Beer Fest. This is a Broken Lizard movie. James, you and I have talked about my love for Super Troopers,
Sure.
and then my neutral to negative feelings on the rest of the Broken Lizard movies. And
Right.
you challenged me to rewatch them. You know, now that I have separated
I mean,
myself,
you've only seen 2 other of their movies, right?
yeah, Club
Beer
Dread and
Fest
Beer
and
Fest,
Club
yeah,
Dread.
and
You haven't seen Super Troopers 2 or what's the other one? Something of Solomon.
no, Song
There's
of
another one.
Solomon, was that it?
No, that's a
Their
book of
Toni
the Bible.
Morrison adaptation.
No. Uh
Uh,
no, Slammin' Salmon. That's what it's
Slam
called.
and Salmon. No, I haven't seen that one. I have seen Dukes of Hazzard, which is it's
It's directed by one of them,
and
yes.
stars. The rest of them have cameos in it. It definitely has
Right.
Broken Lizard moments in it. Um,
It does.
so yeah, so Super Troopers was a movie I watched in college a ton of times. My friends and I loved it. And you know, I could recite it. It's all that kind of stuff. And then like Club Dread came out and Beer Fest came out, and probably because of nostalgia, probably because of our love of Super Troopers, never really clicked with those other movies. Um, so when I saw that Beer Fest came in 2006, I actually rewatched this movie specifically for this episode to see would I enjoy it more now that I'm, you know, detached this far from college. I graduated from
Mhm.
college in 2006, so you know, it gives an idea of how long it's been since. And yeah, I would say that I found this movie amusing. Like there was some laugh out loud moments for me. I definitely chuckled. In this movie, the Broken Lizard Gang plays a group of Americans who are challenged to a beer drinking game competition in Munich, Germany, and they mostly have to train for it. It's kind of like a sports movie in that
Mhm.
sense. Um, and I think what this movie was missing that Super Troopers had, besides the fact that I was like in college, was Super Troopers really felt like a series of sketches that were loosely connected by a plot. There was a plot to it, but it was mostly just like a bunch of silly sketches involving state highway troopers. And Beer Fest felt more like they're trying to tell a cohesive story and move a plot along and sacrifice some of the jokes and some of the irreverentness that I found in Super Troopers. So
Mhm.
I don't think I'm sure if you know if I was to watch if someone not me was to watch Super Troopers now, they probably feel the same way I feel about Beer Fest. But for whatever reason, you know, that movie is a top 100, and this one is a middle 1000 Beer Fest.
Sure. I like that movie as well, but also one that I haven't seen since roughly that time period,
It,
for sure.
if I mean, it felt very much like a Van Wilder era movie. There's a lot of gratuitous nudity that we were seeing in this era of like you know college stoner films,
Mhm.
which didn't age very well.
My number 5 is 13 Zametti, which is a uh, French language film. Another really small budget movie. Uh, and this one's about a guy who kind of does like menial labor type work and doesn't make very much money. And then he finds an invitation for a job interview. And even though he was he shouldn't have gotten this invitation, he goes to the place and interviews for the job anyway. And then when he gets to the job interview, he finds out that part of the interview is this weird ritual where people have to play what's that game where you like stick a bullet in a gun and you spin the chamber and you
Russian roulette.
yeah, it's like this weird Russian roulette game that's going on that is part of your interview. And it's pretty dark. I mean, this is like a thriller. Um thriller slash mystery movie, and it's a tight 90 something minute movie, including credits, pretty much all in this one room where these Russian roulette games are being held. And it's pure acting, this movie, for sure. It's good. I don't know if it would hold up. I remember being real into it in 2006, and I ranked it pretty high on Letterboxd. What, 8 years later when I got a Letterboxd, but uh, no clue if it would hold up today. But I do have fond memories of 13 Zemetti.
Nice. Well, my number 5 has already been mentioned. It's Rescue Dawn. I really liked this film. I thought it was super interesting and kind of hardcore. um, I liked it enough that I watched the documentary that Werner Herzog also made about the exact same subject. So he took the real story and made a documentary about it called Little Dieter Needs to Fly. And I liked that documentary as well. So it was kind of a fun pairing between those two movies.
I've heard the doc's even better than the Hollywood
Yeah.
adaptation.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. All right.
Although
So I was doing these in order of IMDb ratings,
Mm-hmm.
and like my first 4 movies all had just over 100,000 ratings. Beer Fest has
Mhm.
68,000. Now we have a precipitous drop. This next movie, number 5, has only a 28,000 ratings on IMDb.
wow.
And it is a documentary called This Film Is Not Yet Rated.
Hmm.
This is I guess you call it an investigative documentary about the MPAA and their practices on how they rate films. It really digs into how the MPAA handles violence versus sex. That's sort of the big portion of this movie, and um, sort of at least the filmmakers perceived imbalance to how they rate that. Also, looking at, are certain studios given special treatment. uh, I thought it was a very interesting movie. If you're interested in like how films are made and the whole Hollywood process, this gives you a good insight into how the MPAA was operating, at least in 2006. And aren't they now just called like the MPA? Did they drop the? Isn't just the Motion Picture Association?
I don't
Did they
know.
drop the of A? Because I feel like you see it now. It's just MPA, and I'm not sure if they rebranded or changed their name.
I thought it was the MPAA.
I mean, it was when this movie was made, but recent trailers I see just MPA.
Interesting.
So the logo does say MPA.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just the Motion Picture Association.
Mhm.
Anyway, the irony of this movie is they often show scenes from movies that were considered to be too raunchy or were cut. So this movie itself is rated NC-17. Probably because the MPA saw this movie and is like, well, we're not gonna let anyone. We don't want anyone to watch this movie. So I definitely think it's underwatched because of the NC-17 rating. But it's just clips of other movies that had their scenes cut down for ratings reasons. So I definitely think it's worth checking out. And don't be scared of the NC-17 rating unless you're super sensitive.
Right. Unless you absolutely do not want to see male body parts.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's the documentary itself is not doing anything NC-17 rating. They're just using
No, I
other
mean, there's
movies.
nothing erotic about this documentary. I
No,
will agree with
no,
that.
no.
But I've seen it as well, and also like if you're into movies and you're curious about how they get rated and all the issues, that's why you'd watch this for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it does a good job of framing all of that.
Oh yeah. If I was to rank this list like number 10 through 1, this would be my number 1 on the list.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Cool.
My number 4 is Sherry Baby, which I feel like maybe I champion this movie occasionally. So, like, I think in general it's forgotten, but maybe I haven't forgotten it, but that's okay. I think in general, most people don't talk about Sherry Baby, but they should because Maggie Gyllenhaal is amazing in Sherry Baby. She's awesome. Uh, she plays the titular character, and she's playing a heroin addict who is a mother of a child that's, I don't know, 6 to 8, something like that. And she just gets out of jail at the beginning of the movie, and now she's like having to go to a um, parole officer and go to like uh, Narcotics Anonymous meetings and stuff like that. Live in a halfway house, and she's trying to get her life back together so that she can be with her child. Meanwhile, her brother, who does have his life together in these terms, has been watching her kid and is very suspicious that she's not over her issues and that this is just going to happen again. And he's trying to protect the kid that he's been watching for her, even though, in theory, she could get him back at any time because she's a free person. And so he's trying to convince her, like, it's not a good idea for you to just take him back. Like, just because you're out of jail doesn't mean you're ready for this responsibility again. And you should think about him more than just your want and stuff like that. So I guess the point is, it's a drama. It's all about the performance. And Maggie Gyllenhaal kills it as a kind of unlikable yet sympathetic character because she is definitely a victim of her own doing, and she does a very good job of depicting like the cycle of a heroin addict and like how hard it is to break some of the cycles that that kind of addiction puts you in. And I think she was nominated for an Academy Award for this. Maybe not. Nope, looks like she was nominated for every other award other than an Academy Award, which is a shame because I'd have given it to her. My number 4, Sherry Baby.
Cool. My number 4 is Smoking Aces by Joe Carnahan. And this is kind of a ridiculous action film, but like over the top in a fun way. I felt it stars a ton of people. I mean, Ryan Reynolds, Jeremy Piven, Alicia Keys, Ray Liotta, Andy Garcia, Common, uh, uh, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, Chris Pine. It just has so many people in it.
I don't remember Alicia Keys being in movies.
I think it was her first film appearance ever.
Really?
First and only.
And the basic premise is a guy decides to be an informant, to turn state's evidence. And so people come out of the woodwork, like 7 different groups of assassins that are all very different from each other, are all trying to kill him before he can like testify. And so you just have all these different groups of people with very different murder skills trying to get at this guy at the top of a building, I think.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's such a ridiculous kind of flashy film, but I remember having a lot of fun with it.
Nice.
It's my number 4.
I can picture the DVD cover, The Smoking Aces. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But
It's very colorful.
yeah, right. Lots of neon colors in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's totally a movie you could watch. Smoking Aces. Just a cast watch, basically. Kind of like Starter for 10. Like you just watch it and you're just like, holy crap. Can't believe this person's in this.
Look at all those people.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4 is a movie called The Namesake. This is starring Cal Penn and Irfan Khan are probably the only names that people would recognize. In this movie, Cal Penn plays an American kid born to Indian immigrants. He's given the name mistakenly of Gogol, which he really does not like. And a good chunk of this movie is him trying to, be a normal teenager, a normal American teenager, while he still has Indian parents who are following more traditional values, as well as him learning about his parents' own history, how they met, how he got his name, and sort of coming to terms with his own past, his own immigrant past in that sense. And it's a really I don't know it's a really enjoyable movie to watch. If we were to make a list of like top 10 movie dads, I think Ifran Khan from this
Hmm.
movie would definitely be on that list. He plays a great dad in this movie. Um,
Hmm.
he, I think this is also the movie that introduced him to American audiences. Like he eventually was in things like Slumdog Millionaire, Life of Pi, Jurassic World, Amazing Spider-Man. And he was even at this time was a huge Bollywood actor. But this was definitely his crossover movie. This is a movie that my wife absolutely loves. She's read the book. She's the reason I saw this movie, and I'm really glad I did. I really enjoy it, and I definitely think it's worth checking out, especially just for the great Ifran Khan performance. Or sorry, Irfan, not Ifran. Irfan.
Hmm. It was already on my watch list, so I'll bump it up.
You will make Megan a happy person.
All right. Great. My number 3 is Flushed Away, which is an animated movie featuring the voices of Hugh Jackman, Kate Winslet, Jean Reno, Andy Serkis, Ian McKellen, amongst others. This is the 3D animated or computer animated movie from the makers of Aardman Animation. So this was like Aardman took some of their creatives and applied it to a 3D animated movie. And so all the characters, even though they're computer animated, look like Aardman animation characters, stop motion characters, like traditional Aardman animation stop motion characters. And the animation itself too is given like a jerkiness that doesn't exactly duplicate stop motion animation, but it does not like intentionally is not as realistic or smooth as your typical computer animated kids movie. So it has a very specific computer animated style. And it generally just got ignored, I think, for the most part. Like I think people just didn't understand like why the stop motion guys were making a computer animated movie. And they overlooked it for that reason. Not because the story is bad, because it's not. It's a super fun story about a mouse that gets flushed down a toilet and then he goes on an adventure in the sewers. And he gets chased by rats. So it's like mice versus rats running through the sewers of New York. And the characters are fun. If you like movies like Chicken Run and stuff like that, these are the same dudes. Same people, might not just be dudes. The same people are making this movie. So it's high adventure, it's snappy dialogue, it's heartfelt moments, it's all the things that you'd want in a kid's animated movie. It's just not stop motion. Just pretend it's stop motion. That's Aardman. It would have been a classic if it was in stop motion. But because it wasn't stop motion, nobody saw it, nobody cared. It went away. And that's why I'm sticking up for it and making it my number 3, Flushed Away.
Did you say the characters
Nice.
look like Aardman animation?
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks the same, just not stop
It
motion.
looks, it's not exactly the same, but it's very, if you pull it up, it's very similar to what Aardman characters look like, for sure. And the way like Aardman characters had the big cheesy grins
Yeah.
with like the teeth and stuff like that, it's exactly that.
Huh. All right.
Cool. My number 3 is Half Nelson, directed by Ryan Fleck and starring Ryan Gosling and Anthony Mackie. And this is a film that I really liked when it came out. I thought that it had really great characterization and great acting and kind of something to say. But I don't know. It just doesn't get mentioned that much. Let's see. Ryan Gosling plays a teacher, and he's super dedicated to his students. He's a great teacher. He's an awesome guy, like respectable, but he kind of has this secret other life where he is addicted to drugs. And he's kind of like fighting that battle, and then one of his students then encounters him on the other part of his life, the drug side. And so they have this like secret between them. And so it's about those characters and their interaction and stuff like that. Anyways, I remember really, really liking this at the time. I haven't seen it since, but yeah, Half Nelson, my number 3.
Another movie I never finished.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Yeah, right around the time that you learned his secret and the student found out, I turned it off, and I can't tell you why, but
You got turned off by it.
this was in the height of my 45-minute rule, where
Yeah.
I was ruthless.
I am so curious how many movies you have started and not stopped or not finished.
I should make a
45
list.
minutes is not long enough.
I should make a list of all the movies I 45-minuted, and
That would be a fun list
okay,
to go through.
I'll work on that, and we can maybe like on a Patreon, or if we're bored
Sure.
someday. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
make that
that'd be-
list. I can probably figure it out for the most part.
That'd be
Which
fun.
ones? I think it's a lot of movies from our like 2006 to 2010. That was the
Yeah.
height of the rule.
In fact, how many lists you like have crossed off that have you only watched 45 minutes of?
Oh, I think every list movie I finished.
really?
Because it's a list movie. I feel like if I'm going to check it off, I need to finish. But I'll go back and look. I know Bicycle Thieves, I 45-minuted the first time I saw it. And then I watched it again and gave it 3 stars because I finished it.
Oh, that means you liked it.
It means I don't want to take any movie nerd flack. If I got 3 stars, forget about it. There's a bicycle. So there's some thieves.
James didn't like it.
I mean, I didn't say I didn't like it. It just wasn't my favorite.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
but like I
And
would
people love
expect-
that movie, and I was like, it was a movie I watched.
Given the kinds of movies that James is interested in and the era of movies he's interested in, I would not expect him to want to enjoy Bicycle Thieves.
Oh, I wanted to enjoy it. I just didn't.
Okay, actually, not to want to. I wouldn't expect you to like it.
Okay.
But
There we go.
given the era movies I'm interested in the lists, you would think that I'd be more inclined to like that movie or appreciate it. And
So wait, you stopped a movie 45 minutes in and then counted it as watched for one of your lists?
yeah, but I've gone back and now rewatched it, so I've officially seen it.
Are there any other movies though that you counted as watched on a list and you only watched 45 minutes of it?
I don't think so, but I will go back and I will be honest and I will include that on my list. And if you
Alright.
guys call for shame for counting that as a list movie, then I will rewatch it just to clear
I
any
mean,
air.
I'm not gonna. You can be. I'm not gonna shame you for it. I'm just saying.
Oh, Zach will though.
Okay, exactly. Sounds good.
All right.
My number 2.
My
that
number
right?
3.
You're number 3.
My number 3. Yep. Speaking of list movies, my number 3 is Curious George, the animated movie from 2006. I'm sure it's on a list somewhere. This movie is it's the animated story about how Curious George met the man in the yellow hat. It's based on several Curious George books as well as their own creation. You've got Frank Welker is the voice of George, very famous voice artist. I just looked up his filmography. I have seen 54 of his 338 credits.
Wow.
So I think Apu is probably what I most know him for, also doing the voice of. He does lots of animal noises. That's definitely within his ability. But yeah, click on his list and you'll like be like, oh yeah, I've seen so many of these movies and heard of many more of them. You also have Will Ferrell doing the voice of the man in Yellow Hat. Drew Barrymore is in this. Dick Van Dyke, David Cross, Billy West, another famous voice artist. And this is just a super pleasant family movie to watch. Jack Johnson does a couple songs on it, so that kind of gives you the vibe of this movie the whole way through. Like it starts with a 3-minute Jack Johnson song while Curious George is being adorable and running through the forest. This is one of the first movies my son really enjoyed watching when he was, around Kayla's age. He used to pretend to be Curious George and be a monkey and run around, which was adorable. And it's a movie I do not mind watching with him whatsoever. Sometimes there'll be kids' movies where I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And this is a movie where I can easily watch this and enjoy it. It also puts me to sleep, not because I'm bored. It's just because you got like this Jack Johnson vibe going through the whole movie. And like, it's 6:30 at night. I'm watching with him, and I just take a little dad nap on the couch. No qualms with that.
Nice. I've never seen this. I'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to
Okay.
rush out, but if you're like, if you just need
Oh, I'm watching it right after we're done recording tonight.
yeah, like if you just want a pleasant 87 minutes, you're not gonna be mad about it. If you don't like David Cross, he's not doing too much David Cross. It's David Cross in a children's movie, so he's not gonna go out there or anything like that.
Better or worse than David Cross in Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Oh, I would say much better because Alvin the
Okay.
Chipmunks is trying to be a kids movie that like adults can enjoy also.
Mm-hmm.
And Curious George is like, no, this is for kids,
Hmm.
but but adults can still enjoy it because we're making a family movie. We're not trying to like sneak jokes in there or anything like that.
Sure. All right. My number 2 is Southland Tales, which isn't exactly forgotten on this podcast just because I bring it up.
Yeah.
But I don't bring it up that much, right? It's not like every week we're talking about
Not
Southland
anymore.
Tales. Right. But
Not anymore.
I feel like there was a time where it came up a lot over like a 2-year period for some reason. But this is a movie directed by Richard Kelly, who directed Donnie Darko. I think it was his follow-up to Donnie Darko, and the movie starred Dwayne Johnson in an early role. So early, it was before he decided to just go with his wrestling name as his professional name. Also stars Sean William Scott, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Mandy Moore, Justin Timberlake, Wallace Shawn from Princess Bride, and Bai Ling, amongst others. And it is a weird, messy, sci-fi detective musical. It's the movie defies explanation or logic, really, even as you watch it. Like the things that happen, they're all connected in ways that make sense if you really think about it. But if you really think about it, it actually doesn't make sense. And that's kind of why I like the movie. It's such a mess. And the people that dislike it for absolutely legitimate reasons that I acknowledge and respect. And I also like it for all of those reasons. It's super unique, and not unique in like a this movie's awful kind of way, in my opinion. Unique in a like this guy was trying to hit home run after home run. Like every 5 minutes, he's trying to hit a different home run, and he never gets any of them past like second base. But he's swinging so hard that you have to respect the effort for sure. And there's so many concepts from this time period crammed into this movie that probably don't date very well. Like when he wrote this movie, he wrote it pre 9/11, and then after 9/11 happened, he rewrote the entire movie and tried to cram all these like anti-terrorism themes into the movie. Not anti-terrorism, like overreaction to terrorism type themes. And he also, for some reason, in the like B string supporting cast, intentionally cast a bunch of comedians in dramatic roles. So like Sarah Poehler, Amy Poehler's in this movie for like a half a second, and I think she's playing like a police officer or something like that, and her partner is like John Lovitz for some reason, but they do not crack a joke in the movie. I don't know why you have Amy Poehler as a partner cop to John Lovitz and like not have them say a single joke, but that's what Richard Kelly crammed into this movie. In fact, there's like a bunch of SNL people in the movie. SNL. Janine Garofalo's in the movie, Sherry O'Terry, Will Sasso, Christopher Lambert's in this movie for no reason whatsoever. He just crammed it full of all kinds of people playing roles that you never see them in. And it is absolutely 100% a really overlong, messy movie that I love. And a lot of people hate it at the time, but over time, it has gained a cult following, and I think for good reason. My number 2, Southland Tales.
Yeah, I watched that based on your recommendation, James.
Mm-hmm. And
It was fine.
how dare you?
It was super weird.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this
Okay.
on Letterboxd, and it doesn't have your normal rating like curve that you see in movies. It's just super
Mhm.
jagged. And you always know that's like a interesting cult movie when there's no consensus on if people like this or not.
Sure. Well, I think at one point I read a review that this person had watched it like 5 or 6 times, and they gave it a 1, and then they gave it a 5, and then they gave it a 1, and then they gave it a 5, and they're like, I don't know what to do with this movie. Every time I watch it, I feel completely different about it.
That's crazy. Okay, my number 2 is called The Fall, and it has Lee Pace in it and other people. But this movie is a gem. It's never talked about ever. But it's kind of like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, but for like the 2000s. It's the story of a guy in a hospital, and there's also a little girl in the hospital, and the girl like is pestering him, and he is addicted to morphine, and he's been stealing morphine from the hospital, and he tells her this story, I think in order to get her to steal morphine for him, but I don't remember the details on that. And so the movie is framed by this man and the girl in the hospital, and then he tells these fantastical stories of these 5 like mythical men, and that do like wild, fantastical things in like the desert. And the cinematography is incredible. It really does amazing things, and it's really imaginative storytelling, and it's kind of like fantasy and a little bit of war drama, and it's really interesting. So
Hmm.
maybe not war drama because it takes place in the 20s, but whatever. Yeah, The Fall from 2006.
I think it
So
takes place
that was
during like the Spanish-American War or the Mexican-American War or something. So,
Okay.
So
Okay.
there is a good because he's a wounded soldier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I think so, yeah.
I haven't seen The Fall, but I've seen The Cell and Immortals by the same director, Tarsum Singh.
Yeah.
And those movies are like super intentionally visually presented.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is The
The
Fall?
Fall is absolutely that way.
Okay.
There's this one transition from a close up of someone's face to a sand dune that is so seamless. When it happens, it feels like a magic trick, and it's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think you'll love The Fall, James.
He also directed Mirror Mirror.
Oh,
Which is the
yeah,
Julia
yes, the Snow White
Roberts
adaptation.
Yeah. That does not seem like the other 3. And he directed a movie in 2015 called Selfless with Ryan Reynolds, and it looks like a sci-fi thriller. And I want to see that too.
He does it all.
Yeah. He also had, and this is just from memory, he had a TV show where they were going to remake Wizard of Oz, but like make it season after season, like an ongoing story with the characters from Wizard of Oz, like in the same time period as the classic movie. And that was visually interesting too, but bombed pretty hard. Only lasted 1 season, but I was into it. And it was like
Nice.
super unique because it was like on ABC, but it had Tarsum Singh's like visual style to it in prime time. It was weird.
Nice.
Zach, this movie just fell off my list because I thought A Scanner Darkly was more forgotten than The Fall.
Okay.
But I highly considered it, so I'm glad someone put it on their list. All right, my number 2 is called For Your Consideration. This is a movie directed by Christopher Guest and starring his normal troupe like Catherine O'Hara, Harry Shearer, Parker Posey, John Michael Higgins, Eugene Levy, Jane Lynch, Fred Willard, Jennifer Coolidge, Christopher Guest himself, Ed Begley Jr., Bob Balaban, Michael McKean, and a bunch of other faces you'd recognize. This is the story of a group of actors, I think led by Catherine O'Hara, who are making a a historical movie called Home for Purim, and it starts to get some Oscar buzz, and then they start to wonder if they're going to win an Oscar for what's supposed to be that kind of this low budget family movie. That's all also getting all this, buzziness around it. And this movie is a bit of a satire of the kind of the awards season buzz, the Oscar process. It feels like this movie is a bit too insider baseball. It's not my favorite Christopher Guest movie. It definitely has its funny moments, but nothing like A Mighty Wind or Spinal Tap or Waiting for Guffman. And I wonder if this movie failed because it's maybe a movie that if you have like been through the Oscar process, the movie process before, you kind of get all the jokes, but as an outsider, you're just kind of like wondering like, I wonder what they're commenting on here besides these mildly funny situations. So it's a movie that I enjoyed. It definitely amused me. It is a good performance by Catherine O'Hara. She's always great. But it's definitely not top tier Christopher Guest.
I agree. I need to rewatch it because I saw it when it came out. Never watched it again. But
Yeah, I'd rather like watch A Mighty Wind again. I think there's more to get from that than this one.
I didn't love that one either. I always just go back to Best in Show. Best in Show is
That-
his best movie.
Better than Spinal Tap?
No.
I know
Spinal
you guys
Tap's
like
way
Spinal
better.
Tap, but I don't like Spinal Tap.
Ah,
Why
I mean,
not?
it's not that I dislike it. I know everybody that like loves that movie. I don't.
that's just is a hilarious movie. I'm not like chiding you for liking that movie more, but
Sure.
or liking that movie at all. But I think Spinal Tap's
I don't
better.
find Spinal Tap funny like at all. Is that a
Really?
problem?
At all.
At all.
Like at all. No, I don't get. The
I don't
joke.
understand that.
when-
I don't get.
How
the
do you
joke.
watch that and not think it's
When
funny?
did you see it?
No. I did 20 years ago, maybe.
Okay, so it wasn't like a recent thing where you know all the jokes, huh?
I don't get it.
Recent, 2002. That was
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah, see, but yeah, no, by
I mean, I didn't see it around
2002
release.
Well, I didn't see it around release either, but like
Yeah.
like when I saw it in the late '90s, it felt fresh to me. Like up to 11.
It might have
all
been
that
late
kind of stuff.
90s.
Yeah,
When did Spinal Tap come out? Like 80s?
80s, like 80. phew. I want to say mid 80s.
Yeah.
Let's see.
84.
Oh, he didn't direct Spinal Tap.
Oh.
That's right. Rob Reiner directed Spinal Tap.
He wrote it, or what? Or he was related to it.
I think he wrote it. I mean, it's his troupe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see, crew who. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
writers.
that's why I
Harry
didn't-
Shearer, Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean.
That's why I didn't like it, because he didn't direct it. That's why.
Well, yeah, but you like Rob Reiner films.
Yeah,
Not all
that
of them.
Rob Reiner, that hack.
All right. My number one most favorite forgotten film of 2006, according to my criteria, is Black Book, which is a movie I watched recently, and I had never seen it before, and I liked it a lot. And I don't know why people don't talk about this movie when they really should. It's pretty great, and it came out in 2006. It was so
Okay,
forgotten
okay.
I had never even heard of it until Zach texted me a photo from a garage sale and said, "Look, these Blu-rays are $2 each. Do you want any of them?" And I said, "Get me Black Book," because I haven't seen that movie in a long time, and I could really use some Brittany Murphy. And then Zach bought me Black Book, and then I got it, and I put it in my hand, and I was like, "This is not Brittany Murphy's Black Book. This is Paul Verhoeven's Black Book," which is a very different movie. And then I was like, "I'm going to watch this anyway," and I watched it, and it was great. It's like a World War II drama about this Jewish woman who is trying to survive during a Nazi invasion, and she can pass as non-Jewish, whatever that means. And
Yeah.
she kind of like integrates herself. She's an attractive lady who like the Germans take a shine to. And so she kind of becomes the girlfriend of one of the German generals type of thing. And the resistance figures out that she is Jewish, and they're like, well, we know, and we're going to tell your Nazi boyfriend like that you're Jewish and you're going to be done, or you're going to get us information. And so she kind of becomes a reluctant spy. And then over the course, she realizes that in her pursuit of trying to save herself, she lost a piece of like who she was, type of thing. And this was a way to gain control of the situation again. Is like, yeah, I'm sleeping with the enemy, but I'm also feeding our side this important information. So there's like a lot of complicated politics going around where like other women know what she's doing and they're like, you're gross because you never sleep with the enemy. And she's like, yeah, well, he wouldn't have this information as if it wasn't for me. So, but it's a good Paul Verhoeven movie. And I definitely had pigeonholed him as like a very specific kind of filmmaker, and a lot of the Paul Verhoeven stuff is found in this movie, but it's tempered in a way that absolutely makes sense towards this period story setting. And I did not expect that out of him. It's really good, and people should watch it. Black Book.
Yeah, you really like that film.
I did.
For sure. Okay, my number one is a documentary by Tony Kaye, and it's called Lake of Fire. And this documentary no one has seen, and it's so incredibly good. It's the best. It's awesome. It's about the abortion debate in America, and the film is shot completely in very stark black and white, to go along with the theme of people having very strong opinions about this issue. And so it presents, like kind of all sides, all the different opinions that people have about abortion, without judgment, and it goes back and forth, jumps around kind of. So there's this disorienting feel to it, because you just see people feel very passionately on both sides in this like gorgeous cinematography. I don't think I've seen a documentary with better cinematography than this. That was absolutely a consideration that they had while making this. And it's really good. I think they have Roe from Roe v. Wade in it. I don't know. It's not a bunch of talking heads necessarily. It's just it's an artsy documentary, but it really shows a slice of an American debate, I would say. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Nice. I have not seen it.
No.
I got it on my watch list, and I'm seeing that it's free on Tubi in the United States right now. So I will be checking it out soon.
With
Tubi.
commercials?
Yeah.
Ugh. No, thank you. I have Tubi
What are you, a
as one of my
commercial
streaming
snob?
options. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, it's commercials though.
I'll tell you what, I did watch a movie on Tubi, and I swear this movie was like 2 hours long. But by the time I finished it, it was 2.5 hours long.
Okay, Tubi has commercials like every 10 minutes. They're dropping in breaks.
It's every 10 minutes, and I swear the first commercial break, it had like 2 commercials.
Yeah.
By hour and a half, by the hour, like by about an hour and a half in, they cut to commercial break, and it said 1 of 9 on the commercials. And I was like, 9
yeah.
commercials? I was like,
1 of
that's
9?
insane.
I can't do
and
it.
not only was it 1 of 9, but like a couple of them repeated in the same commercial break. And I was
yeah,
like,
that's not good.
That's not fun. No.
yeah. But still, for free. I mean, come on. Beggars can't be choosers.
You're not begging. You could go rent it for money.
Rent it where?
I don't know, like Vudu or iTunes or Amazon.
Forget all that.
You could acquire it.
Yeah, it's just a lot easier to just pull it up and let it burn.
Yeah.
Tubi.
No, thank you.
Besides, I like breaks. Just pull up my phone, look at Reddit for 10 minutes. Commercials are over. Go back to the movie.
How movies were intended to be watched on your phone every 10 minutes.
For sure. That's definitely what they had in mind when making Lake of Fire. The cinematography and the commercial breaks.
Before I get to my number one, I find it very interesting that we are almost 30 unique movies on this list. I think the only crossover was Rescue Dawn between Zach
Yeah.
and myself.
It's incredible.
And now also my number one, Who Killed the Electric Car, which I put as a documentary. But yeah. But James, you had a completely unique list to the both of us.
So 28 original movies between our lists.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive.
It's a good thing I left documentaries off because Who Killed the Electric Car probably would have made it.
It could have,
That'd
yeah.
be a great
Yeah.
documentary.
Yeah, Zach, you hit on a lot of great points on this. This is a movie that I watched in college for a class, and I'm not sure why, because by this point in my college career, everything was education classes. So I'm not sure why we watched Who Killed the Electric Car, but I'm glad we did because I definitely enjoyed it. And this movie definitely has a bit of a conspiracy bend to it, where it's there's you have these electric cars that were sold by GM to California residents in 1996, and then one day GM just said, "Nope, we need them all back," because I guess part of the deal was like people didn't officially own them; they were renting them or leasing them or something along those lines. So yeah, this movie's definitely exploring like why did GM take all these cars back and trash them in the desert? And yeah, right, like you said, was it the oil companies? Was it poor performance? Was something else going on? But yeah, it's interesting that we could have been closer to electric cars than we are now. And it seems like these cars were made, I don't know, like we have electric cars now, like, Tesla, for example, and Volt and whatnot. But something about electric cars now still feels like we're still trying to sell you something you have to renew. Where these cars felt like, yeah, these are actually electric cars. You buy it once, you don't need to put anything else into it. It's totally fine. So these ones seem more benevolent than electric cars we get now.
Sure.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, only 2 overlaps. I think James's list wins for the more forgotten films.
I don't think I've seen a single movie or even heard of. Mine is Black Book, which you've talked about.
You haven't heard the Fistfoot Way?
Nah, maybe. I mean, you're
Oh,
kind of
you
talking
should
about the
see
Saving
that,
Private Ryan
Kyle,
movie,
because
so.
The Fistfoot Way is all about like martial arts.
Okay, is it like a kung fu parody?
It's a kung fu
Okay,
parody.
all right.
It's not only is it a kung fu parody, it's a parody of like dudes who go into karate dojos and like try to learn karate.
Oh, those guys.
So yeah, you might recognize some behavior in that movie, possibly. You may have actually enacted that behavior here and there. You guys have never heard of 13 Zemetti?
Nope.
No. Sorry.
You've heard of Flushed Away.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Passingly. It's not a movie I thought about.
All right. That's good. When you watch 143, something like that, 142, you're bound to dig a little deep.
You have a deep bench. I was working off of 56, and 10 of those I couldn't even use. So
again, if you go to the 80s, like if we went to 1981, I bet I have like 30, probably. Maybe not even that. I wouldn't be shocked if it was less than that. So there's definitely a drop. There's like a mid to late 90s explosion of James watching things, and then it like stays pretty consistently 80 to 100 until around 2003 when I started the website, and then it explodes again. That's my movie watching map. All right. Well, that was our top 10 forgotten films of 2006. If you know of a film in 2006 that we've forgotten to put on our top 10 forgotten films of 2006 list, please let us know. I'm sure there are other movies that we have never heard of that are good from that year. And we like taking movie recommendations via email. You can send us an email to heyguys@cinereelists.com with that recommendation or a comment, a question, a list suggestion, any of those kinds of things we encourage via email. Also, find us on YouTube, search Cinereelists, support us on Patreon, leave us an Apple Podcast review, or follow us on social media on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. And You can find us on any of those platforms at Cinereelists, or you can follow me on my personal Twitter or Letterboxd account. Twitter for now. Or Letterboxd account at YoJRB.
You follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaubin.
Yeah, I've already canceled my Twitter accounts. Just follow me on Letterboxd at PeterSKB.
Kyle's
considered
also on Truth Social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truth Social.
But follow me on Truth Social at January 6th Patriot 87342 because there's a lot of them on there.
Sure. I thought about canceling my Twitter account, but I didn't want to affect the stock price, so decided to keep it.
I'm pretty sure if at James or at Has Lobster gets canceled, all 4 followers would really be sad.
Crushed.
Yeah.
For sure. We'll be back next week, speaking of email, discussing the new Robert Eggers film, The Northman, which I have seen. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but it's a movie, that's for sure. We're going to discuss The Northman, and we're also going to do the long-delayed listener email segment that we've been teasing for like a month now. So if you have sent us an email, we'll be talking that. And if you haven't sent us an email, send one in, because that's what we're talking about next week. Any final thoughts, guys? Anything you need to say to the listenership? No? That is rare opportunity. Normally, I don't let you speak your mind, but right now, open floor.
That thing you were wondering if you should do or not,
Right.
do it. Decide to do it.
Do it.
Okay.
Go for
Do
it.
it. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Depending on what it is, that's good advice.
Do it.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep it Cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.